What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. I'm Carl Fisher, and today we are back on the 1939 Lincoln Zephyr 4-door to 2-door conversion project. This thing is my personal dream car and something I've been working on for a little while. We're smashing out some panels right now, trying to get the roof filled in, and in this video, we are going to be making this panel right here, which is the same panel as we made on this side, but the difference is that one we did with hand tools and the English wheel. This one, I'm gonna hopefully pull out all the stops and practice the power hammer. So it's a lot different way of shaping using thumbnail shrinking dies and stretching with the power hammer. So come along with me and let's learn how to do this. Let's get into it. All right, so that side should be the same as this side as far as the shape goes. So we're going to use the same pattern and just lay it out on a piece of paper or on a piece of metal here. Give ourselves a little bit extra all the way around, and we'll give it a trim. We'll mark out where some of our notes are. We've got some heavier linear stretch in the corner right around there. We've got our shrinking marks here. We've got the highlight line that is kind of the peak of this line here, right here. We've got the areas of blocking. Like we say, there's a little bit more stretch in this area than there is here because of the flow of the back of this car. It's lighter stretch here, heavier stretch here. Don't mind how wobbly this panel looks. It needs more work because that was difficult for me. So I'm gonna keep at that in the off hours because that last video was taking a very long time. Anyway, let's get this marked out. We'll get it cut out and we'll start smacking it with the big boy power hammer. All right, so you're about ready to go here. Now, I'm just gonna kind of treat this panel similar to the way I did the catwalk pieces, where in this area versus this area had like a bit of light stretching, but right around here, it starts to curve more into the trunk. So there's going to be a little bit more hammering here than there will be here. As with any shape that has like a compound curve, there's always more stretching in the center than there is as you go out. So, you know, for me to make this a bit more of a curve, I'm going to have more stretching here, than here, than here, than here, and it's just got to kind of flow out. And when I'm using the hammer, I'm trying to be as smooth and kind of organic as possible with my movements, not to concentrate or like pause too long in one area. That's kind of my objective anyway. Smoother you are, smoother the panel will be. And for anybody that's new here, like I'm no expert at this stuff. This is me learning and just kind of like getting into the power hammer. I had the pleasure of learning from a couple people that really gave me some, you know, very useful tips on low crown, on, you know, doing reverse curves. Those people, Bespoke Coachworks, Aiden Hunt, Mike Wagner, Cornfield Customs, they both have channels. Mike Wagner's a little bit more active right now, but he's got a lot of great information on power hammer stuff and, you know, coach builder stuff. A little bit less beginner style, but like very, very good information. So I'm taking what I can learn from whoever I can learn it from, even as much as like looking at people's posts on Instagram, and like if there's little tiny bits of information, like I'm trying to absorb that stuff, right? So I highly suggest you, you know, look at people that are doing this in the industry and find out who's using similar tools to what you can use, and like who you can kind of learn from. Menji's Twin Speed Shop does a lot of this work as well, like doing these big conversion projects. So even just looking at their posts have been helpful to me. So, you know, as much as social media can be a love-hate relationship, I know it is for me. I hate the distraction, but I do love the community and the and what's possible for knowledge sharing on there. So anyway, I'm gonna get started. I'm just gonna like block this out a little bit, block it out as in like stretch low crown with the power hammer. I've got a 24 die in this machine. This is a Mittler Brothers kit machine that a friend, Banshee Chop Shop, he built this, and I bought it off him when he moved on to a different hammer. I probably will redo the frame at some point, make it a little bit stiffer, a little bit bigger, but it is working right now. So I think my idea so far is going to be to get a bit of the blocking in so that the panel starts to fall in the right direction to start the shape. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of shrinking on the edges where I did the blocking, or not blocking, where I did the tuck shrinking with the hammer in the last video, doing the panel on the other side. So I'll probably either use the shrinking dies in here. I probably will use the shrinking dies in here because they're not too aggressive. They're a bit of a shallow, medium shrink die, and we'll see how we do with those. I also have small, like fine tuning kind of shrinking dies that are on the Pullmax now that do work pretty well. So we'll see how far we get. Another tip is the gloves. I like using these gum dipped gloves or rubber gloves. They work really well for kind of absorbing the shock, not cutting your fingers, and being sticky enough to hold the panel. So I guess I gotta plug that in. I do rock a little bit of WD-40 on my panels. A little bit cheaper option that Mike Wagner likes to use is Mineral Spirits 50/50 with ATF, automatic transmission fluid. So that's something you can try if you like. He uses a lot of it, but I don't use that much. So WD-40's always in my shop. So we got a little bit started. Now we've got that that pop in the panel. That's how you know we've got some stretch going in there. Don't want to go too crazy yet. I'm gonna switch the dies over to the shrinking dies and put a little bit of that shape into it. See, these ones are not too aggressive. They got just a small thumbnail on them. Just gonna take a piece of scrap, make sure that the dies are lined up okay. Okay, we're not quite hitting hard enough here. Just gonna juice it up a little bit. I think I'm going to change the stroke just a little. That's better. Okay, now that we've got a little bit of that in there, basically what you've seen is a little bit deeper shrinks and a little bit shallower ones. So there's more shrinking to happen near the edge than there is on the way in. So I've got some deep ones and then a few shallow ones below it. Now what I've got to do to even check the panel is I've got to put the form in here. So I want to go to the English wheel now with like a number 8 radius because it's a little bit, it's pretty much a number 8 coming off the trunk. So I'm going to run that same wheel, number 8 lower die or lower anvil in the English wheel. And then that is just a rubber band on the top. This is a 16-inch inner tube from just a bias ply tire that I had laying around. So this is what we're going to do. Add the form into it, up to our highlight line. Ooh. We want to avoid doing that. The love-hate relationship with the rubber band. So I don't want to go too much all of a sudden, right? It might need more shrinking, but we can't tell if it's the right shape until you actually put the curve into it, because when you curve the panel, it flattens it out. So it'll look like it's got too much shape until you put the form into it. There's shape and form, right? So form, we're not actually changing the surface area by shrinking or stretching. This panel ends up having a lot of curve going down this way. So it's gonna need some deeper shrinks also. Other than that, I mean, I guess we could just do an incredible amount of stretching here, but I'm gonna get a few in there just to help us out. All right. Now I do have some other dies for this that I can smooth it out a little bit. I've got a number 6. I wish I had a number 8, but I've got a number 6 that we can put in here. And just help smooth some of our mess, I'll say, our shrinking. So I'll go 6 on the lower, I'll go flat on the top. Starting to look more like what we're trying to get at. A little bit of a panel. Let's go have a look. Okay. It's kind of not terrible. It's possible that we went a little wild here and got maybe a little too much crown, but I can let some of that out just by wheeling the edge here. I do think it's time to start trying to get a little bit of this up, some reverse curve in there. I'm not sure whether, like, I don't technically have linear stretch dies for the power hammer, but I'm curious as to whether or not it'll work if I just stretch the edge a little bit with the radius dies, because you can let out shape by stretching the edge with radius dies. Can you put in linear stretch technically that way by just using the right kind of pattern? I don't know. I might try a little bit of it, and then I'll probably end up on the English wheel trying to get a little bit of that reverse curve in there. But the general shape with our shrinks is pretty good. I feel like this is not bad. Have a look underneath. Yeah, it's not bad. It's rough, but we might have a little bit too much right in this spot. It's hard to tell yet because it can't sit down without turning that edge. So I'm just gonna give that a try because we've got the number 6s in there right now. I'll flip this over and see if we can't start a little bit of stretch there. Maybe I'll just have to do it all on the wheel, but let's try it. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. Because the die is flat on top, maybe it'll help if I put a radius on top also. I really should get like a number 8 or something, but we're just gonna rough it in. I guess, I don't know. That might be a bit harsh, 4 and a 6. Let's go to a 24. I mean, we can't argue that it's not working because it's totally working. Let's go have a look, I guess. Before we go over there, I'm gonna take a little bit of the shape out of this edge here, because I know that that was a little overdeveloped. Throw this rubber band back on for a moment, just try and get a little bit of the form back in. What I gotta do is set up one of these wheels that I have here with just a rubber wheel on the top. That's what I really should be doing. I have one. And then you could have something just for this and not have to swap back and forth all the time, you know? All right, let's go have a look. What do we see? What do we see? I mean, it's not terrible. Gotta try and force this in a little bit. Just pressed on it with my belly. I mean, I'd call it semi-close. I'm just gonna throw a clamp on here to show you guys underneath. Ooh, we're gonna have to cut that off. That kind of hurts us. All right. So here's the power hammer after about an hour of messing around. We've got, it's not perfect, but it's fitting pretty close. Like, it's not much different than the other side, to be honest. Right on that second rib that's in the center of the screen right now, not the first one that we're clamped on, but that next one. That one is where I said we were a little bit overdeveloped. And that rings true because we're off of the rib here by about 1/4 of an inch. So that's not to say that, you know, because we're overlapping here, maybe that would go in a little bit more. But even this rough out is not bad. You know, our flow is not bad. So I don't know. I'm gonna assess the shape a little bit more. I want to do some more smoothing, just kind of like smooth out some of this roughness here, maybe put this in the wheel. It seems like either this has to be bent up a little bit more to flatten this out. That's probably what needs to happen. Yeah, I think so. So I'm just gonna work on this reverse curve a little bit, trying to add some of the form into that. We can use the wheel with the tape, I mean the rubber band, and just try and smooth that out a little bit. Perhaps it will need, well, I know it'll need a little bit more stretching around here. This is where most of the bend, because you see the harsher radius here than there is here and here. That means that's gonna have more stretch right in that spot. So all in all, pretty stoked at the panel so far because of the little amount of work it actually took to get it to where it is. I do think that perhaps we could block this a little bit more. This is a little bit flat here. So that could also be why this isn't touching, is because this area needs to come up a little bit for the whole panel to come down. So I'm just gonna take my time, have a look, and then kind of make my next moves slowly. I don't wanna overwork the panel. I think that in the last video when I was doing everything by hand, like I had said back then, I did overwork it a little bit. You know, sometimes you're in a spot, you think that you got, you know, the next step and it sets you back, and then it ends up being work you didn't have to do, and that's where overworking begins. So thinking about the shrink, stretch, and assessing the shape is very important, and making sure that you add whatever form it is to get it as close as possible to fitting, so that each time you check it, you're checking it consistently. Okay, I just had a little bit of tea. And coming back to the panel, I just want to make sure that I explained like what I'm seeing here. So right now, this is a low spot. You can see the line, the light line, right? So here, I do actually need to bring that up a little bit more, which means that this needs to stretch a little bit more. So as much as the power hammer was okay, kind of roughing it in, it's time to go to the English wheel to get that like reverse curve linear stretch out of the edge of this panel. So I'm gonna go and start stretching at the edge and working my way back, stretching in here to bring this all up. That's what needs to happen. This panel's actually sitting a little bit low also right now. Compared to the other side is pushed forward more, which means that this material will be going up even more, which means that it needs even more stretch. So there's an incredible amount of linear stretch in that spot. If you don't remember on the last panel how much we did, we're gonna have to do that to this panel also. So there's that, and I'm gonna work on that for now and isolate that, but there is going to be a little bit more of the stretching here and here, like I had said, and perhaps we'll let a little bit of the shape out here if necessary to get this down. But for the most part, this light line I'm seeing on the side here is actually flowing really well, so I don't want to mess with that yet. I would like to just work on one area at a time. I do have to say, guys, that I had a much easier time getting this panel to where it is roughed in than I did on the other side. And the reason being is that the power hammer really does take a lot of the work out of it, and being able to shrink with thumbnail shrinking dies, that sort of thing. I know what you're thinking is like, oh, it must be nice, like have all the tools or whatever, but I would like to also say that you can get into a power hammer relatively inexpensively. Now, I know it's still like out of budget for most, as it was for me for many, many years. I did not and could not afford the power hammer. But what I'm telling you now from all this experience over the last however long is that you can make your own power hammer, okay? That one is mostly made by, you know, just a regular dude. If you're building cars, you can build a machine, all right? So if you understand what the power hammer does, you can do it. Case in point, look at Half-Assed Customs. Brent Hoytnick, Half-Assed Customs, check out his channel, super great dude. I'm gonna go visit him later this summer. But his power hammer works amazing. He made it out of total scrap. So I might make a big power hammer out of scrap one of these days to prove my point. Because what's most important is how it works. And it can be achieved in so many different ways to make a power hammer actually work. And the dies don't have to be crazy. Like, you can do this panel how I did this with a scrap machine. You don't have to have that machine. You can make one out of scrap. Brent's machine would do it. His mechanism is made out of a chopped up rear end that we pulled out of his field, and like a used motor and just some scrap iron. Like, I kid you not, you can do it. So don't get discouraged on expensive tools to do certain work, because it's absolutely possible to have inexpensive tools do the same job as an expensive tool. Those really expensive ones, Pettingles, Yoders, all that kind of stuff, you're paying for the longevity and the, you know, you're paying for like an incredible machine that's been tried and tested for 100 years. Like, that's what you're paying for. That's why they're 20, 30 grand, 40, 50 grand. And the dies are hardened, and they're just meant to be run all day. Like, one of those machines can build 1,000 fighter planes. Like, you're not doing that. You're in your garage building your one car or two cars or 5 cars over your life. It doesn't have to be that crazy of a machine, okay? Anyway. I'm gonna keep going. Like I said, English wheel next, focus on this reverse curve, and then we'll address some of the other areas and get this hammered out. All right, so I got quite a bit of tension on it because we got a lot of work to do. Remember, always more stretching on the outside than the inside on a reverse curve. So, you know, if I do 3 passes out here, 2, 1 kind of thing as you're going through, just keep in mind that that's what's got to happen. If your edge gets wavy, it means that either you've stretched too much at the edge, like if you're close to the actual shape, or it just means, don't worry, you just have more stretching to do in the center to catch it up to the edge, okay? So the other thing you can do is you can kind of give a little bit of a bend. That's called like adding English on the English wheel. It's a little bit of the black magic of English wheel. You can not just roll it through like super even and nice, you actually can like add pressure on it, and it helps to either add form, or it helps to like have it stretch more, just to be more aggressive, right? Like if a spot is low, I can kind of add pressure and it sort of pushes that area up, or in this case, down. Remember, you're going right off the edge when you are doing the reverse curve, because the edge has to stretch too. If we're building a shape like a low crown, say on a door skin, the last thing you want to do is touch the edge. because you want more stretch in the center, and that edge contains the growth of the surface area that you are wheeling. When you grow the surface area, it has nowhere to go but up if you don't go around the edge. Right now, we're working more on the edge than on the way in, so as to stretch the edge, right? The other thing I can do is I can drop this panel down to make sure that it's getting the curve I want this way while pulling up. Okay, we'll go have a look at it, just see where we're at. We don't want to get too far ahead and then think that we're making progress when we're actually overdoing it, right? So let's have a look, see how she's fitting. Add some form in here. Perhaps we stretched a little too much in this spot, but we don't know for sure. Well, we've definitely brought it up on the car a little bit. Definitely still need more to come up in this area, but the panel is relaxing quite nicely, actually. Just gonna throw this clamp on here again. It's actually fitting better here somehow. Why? I like it. I don't know why, but I like it. Okay. We definitely need more right in the center. You saw when I was wheeling kind of the whole thing. You also have to wheel little ones in the center too, because like it's all happening right here. So if I wheel that whole area, it's going to stretch that whole area, but we need to do center, a little more, and a little more. So let's try and bring this up a little more. Okay, that edge is getting a little wavy, so we just have to do a little bit more on the inside here. We've moved this panel forward a little bit. I just needed this to come up. Let's give it a little bit of form here because that added some form. Needed to just kind of reverse it a little. Okay, that's where I want it to sit. Just chill out, stay, so we can look at you. Okay, so right now we're up on the window like the other side. We've got this flowing in the shape we want it. So right now I've got to just probably do a little bit more right here, bring it out a little bit, tighten up this edge, and then I'm just going to smooth it out with the English wheel, and we'll check it again. Go a little lighter on it, just to try and bump this down. We're bump planishing right now. Basically, we're just smoothing out the highs and lows of all these bumps until the wheel feels loose, and then we'll tighten it up a little bit. This is to ensure we're not adding too much stretch, although right now it wouldn't matter too much. Feels a little twisted. Give it a twist. This is correcting the form after it's being worked on a bit. All right, so looks like we might still need a bit of work in here, but the flow is getting a lot nicer. Still needs a bit, maybe a bit of form. Still seems like this area needs to come up a bit, which also makes me think that perhaps we needed to do a little bit more shrinking here to allow that. So I wonder if maybe just going back on the power hammer and working this area a little bit would help us out. Just to bring that up. I'm gonna give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? I could overdevelop the panel. I think part of my problem is that this area is a little bit overstretched. So I just kind of knocked it back into the form that I wanted, and I see the buckle happening here. So I've got to shrink that out of it. There's too much stretch happening right here. So yeah, I guess I went a little crazy with the stretching. It's quite evident on the other side how flat this area is here and how stretched I made it. So this is the Pullmax P3. I just got it, super stoked. First time on the channel, I guess, being used. Oh, am I not plugged in? This was what was kind of locking us from getting this up more, so. I kind of took care of it pretty quick. Just little thumbnail shrinking dies in there. See, when we rough out a panel, it's so easy to get carried away, you know? You get all excited that it gets close and then it gets further away. Okay, getting there. All right, so a little bit of off-camera action. I did shrink this a bunch more. Now I'm gonna break this down for you guys, where I went wrong from my assessment. The strokes of my English wheel back and forth, I think were a little bit too long because as our paper pattern said, there was a lot of stretch right here, but there was hardly anything over here. But my strokes were too long. So it was like, think about pizza dough, right? You're rolling it and it bunches up all the dough at the end, or when you're rolling it back, it bunches up all the dough at the end. So I was taking too long of, you know, tracks forward and back, and I was stretching too much material here and too much material here. So I went and shrunk this a bunch with the Polmax, just like pulled a bunch of lines, grabbed that, and got that to come back down. That's why we were not seeing the extra material coming in here, is because it was all being pushed either way, and it wasn't bringing this up. Rather, it was just kind of bringing it out, which you can also see by this having that hump in it, okay? So, lesson learned for me is that the strokes were a little bit too long, and I had already done enough stretching on either side of this with just the hammer, and I didn't need to do more. So we got it kind of close back, luckily, because we're only working on this area. We haven't affected the rest of this, and it looks fine. It's fitting actually really good on the rest of this. It's actually quite good. So I'm just gonna smooth this out once again and keep working this area. And if I do any more stretching here, it'll be very short strokes just to bring just this up a little bit. Other than that, I might even, yeah, I'll just use the English wheel, but we'll stretch a little bit more here and just smooth the rest of this out. All right, well, I gotta say, that was a bit of a fight, and again, a learning experience for me. Like once again, I overdeveloped and I had to come back from it, but check out our light lines. I'm very happy with the flow that we've got here now, and it's all around, it's just fitting really, really good there. I have one clamp on it. That's one clamp on one rib, and it's like tight on all the edges, kind of everywhere. It's flowing beautifully in the reverse curve, and it's nice and tight to right where we're gonna weld it to, you know? So I'm super happy with that, actually. Like, it's always a bit of a fight. And less work has gone into this panel than there has been on the other side. Like you can just tell by the marks. There's, you know, I didn't have to roll on top of here very much. Obviously more work than needed to be here, but learning experience, chalk it up to that. Am I overdeveloped here? I kind of don't think so anymore, to be honest. Where is my radius gauge? I saw it fell somewhere. I'm gonna check some stuff with the radius gauge, which I did do a little bit earlier, but we wanna check what is the radius here, right? So it's like a 7 probably. Pretty close to. Yeah, and we're nice and 7, and then it sort of flattens off as it comes up here, which it's expanding and getting into a larger radius, so that's kind of on point as to what it should be doing. All in all, it flows really nice, feels really good, and at this point, you know, what would refining it be? Refining it would be taking a number 7 radius die and going into the planishing hammer and then just smoothing out some of these hammer hits. Like you can see how they really dented it pretty good when I did the number 6 lower. The 24 didn't really leave anything, which is these small hammer hits, but these ones that you can see here, that was with a sharper radius die. So I could go across this and just go for a bunch of planishing, and that's what would help. I can see right here also, I could pull that out a little bit, and that might flatten this out. So it might need a little bit of stretching in here just to bring this out a little bit, but I'm kind of excited to get on it to another panel. So I'll do a bit of, you know what, no, like let's finish off this video and try and make this thing a little bit better. I'm gonna go swap the dies in the planishing hammer to a 7, and we'll give it a bit of a once over there, and then what we'll try to do also is we'll try and get this out of there. That means that we need to probably hammer out a little bit right here because this is sucked in. So when I pull that out, this is gonna go down and be too flat. So we might need even a little bit of a some stretching in here. So I'll work on that spot, and then we'll give it a burnish or a planish all the way around and try and make it even a little bit better. And then we'll get some clecos on it and actually mount it, and we'll be able to see what it looks like with both of those, well, with the whole catwalk done. Stoked. This guy, stoked. All right, smoothing that out did actually kind of raise it up a little bit, but it's still pretty good. Get a second clamp on it here and see how it all flattens out. I mean, it's touching down now. Yeah. Man, it's actually looking really good. Ooh. I think I'm happy. I think I'm happy with that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna grab the clecos. We'll get a couple of those going. If you don't know what these are, it's kind of aircraft industry stuff. When people are using rivets, right? Like hammer rivets, building airplanes. A lot of these sheet metal shaping things all came from airplanes. Tighten this thing up. So these are for 1/8 ones. You just drill a 1/8 drill bit. You see this, when I push it in, it gets skinnier. And when I pull it out, it widens out and grabs a hole. So it'll pinch two panels together is what it's meant to do. So what we can do is we'll throw one right here. I mean, if you don't have Clecos, I just say use self-drilling, self-tapping screws. They work just fine also. There we go, panels mounted. What I can do also is put this other panel on. We can have a look at it. I want to have a look at it. All right. Look at us go. Dang. That's the back of the car right there. This panel turned out pretty good versus the other side. I am very, very stoked. So stoked, so happy that the Zephyr is where it is right now. Thank you all for watching. Next thing we're gonna do is make those sail panels, and we might even do 2-in-1 video. We're gonna do, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how far we get, but there's gonna be a bunch of paper patterning for that. It's quite the shape. Now it's at this point, there's only 2 more panels to make, right? So yeah, can't wait to see it all closed up. And then we're gonna start figuring out how to weld that all together and the steps it'll take to kind of fit all the pieces so that we're not screwing that up. And yeah, anyway, chop class, there's still a couple of spots available. I hope by the time this video drops that that's still true, so that if you're interested, we are chopping a 1952 Chevy Coupe. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna do like a 4 to 4.5 inch chop on it, it looks like. We're gonna angle the pillars forward. We're gonna make the sail panels. Everybody in the class is gonna get a crash course on metal shaping those sail panels for the 52 Chevy also. And it's just gonna be a 3-day, like, wild time here in the shop. It's gonna be like catered tacos on Saturday. We'll get some good eats for Sunday. Not sure what we're gonna do yet for that. Friday is gonna be like pizza party style. If you guys have any, you know, like food allergies or whatever, like we'll accommodate you. You will need to bring nothing. We will have all your protection. All like you just walk in the class and be able to take it. You don't have to bring anything or prepare at all. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. So japhandskustoms.com for that. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. And we'll catch you next time on Make It Kustom. See you later.